Jake Morrison kept his hands steady as he prepared the blood collection equipment. The facility hummed with quiet tension. It was tithe day again. Every month, humans lined up to give their blood to the Sangari overlords who ruled Earth. 50 years had passed since the Sangari Empire arrived in their massive ships. 50 years since humanity realized they were not alone in the universe. 50 years since Earth became just another conquered world in an empire that stretched across 47 planets. The Sangari looked almost human. They had 2 arms, 2 legs, and faces that could have passed for people in dim light. But their skin was too pale. Like marble statues come to life. Their eyes glowed crimson in the dark. And they fed on blood. Not just any blood. They needed the blood of thinking, feeling beings. Animals would not sustain them. Only sentient species could provide what they craved. Jake checked the machines one more time. He had worked at Collection Facility 7 for 3 years now. The Resistance had placed him here for a reason. His job as a medical technician gave him access to the blood supply. Small acts of sabotage added up. A chemical here, a dilution there. Nothing the Sangari would notice immediately, but enough to weaken the samples. Enough to give humanity a tiny advantage. The doors opened. Jake's supervisor, a nervous man named Peter Grant, rushed in with sweat on his forehead. "She's coming here," Peter said. His voice shook. The princess herself. Princess Valora Kine. Jake's stomach dropped. The princess. Daughter of Empress Sarana. Ruler of the Sangari Empire. What was she doing at a simple collection facility? "Why here?" Jake asked. He kept his voice calm, but his mind raced. Had they discovered his sabotage? Was this a trap? "Her coming-of-age ceremony," Peter explained. "She needs to choose a blood consort. Someone from the conquered worlds. It's tradition. She's been touring facilities all week. A blood consort." Jake had heard of the practice. Sangari royalty bonded with individuals from other species through blood. It was supposed to prove their worthiness to rule. The chosen consort would live in luxury but remain forever bound to their Sangari master. It was slavery dressed in fancy words. "Get everyone ready," Peter ordered. "Make sure the donors are clean and presentable. This needs to be perfect." Jake moved through the facility, helping prepare the humans who had come for their monthly tithe. Most were thin and tired. The Sangari took a lot of blood. Too much. Sometimes, Jake's sister Lisa had been taken 3 years ago when her tithe was not enough. The Sangari guard had decided she could give more. She never came home. The memory burned in Jake's chest every single day. An hour later, the Sangari arrived. They moved through the doors like a cold wind. Princess Valora stood in the center of the group. She wore a long black dress that flowed around her like liquid shadow. Her pale skin seemed to glow under the harsh lights. Her crimson eyes scanned the room with calculating interest. She was beautiful in a dangerous way, like a blade that could cut you without trying. "Begin the selection," Valora said. Her voice was smooth and cold. "I will taste from each donor." Standard protocol. The Sangari guards brought the first human forward, an older woman named Margaret who worked in the facility cafeteria. Valora took the woman's wrist gently. Her fingers were long and elegant. She pressed her lips to the skin and drank. Jake had seen Sangari feed before, but never royalty. Valora's eyes closed. Her expression shifted slightly, like she was listening to distant music. After a moment, she released the woman and shook her head. "Next," she said. They brought forward a young man. Then another woman. Then 2 more people. Each time, Valora tasted their blood. Each time, she seemed disappointed. Her guards whispered among themselves. This was taking longer than expected. Jake stood near the back of the room. He had not planned to be part of the selection. He was staff, not a donor. But Peter grabbed his arm. "We need more options," Peter hissed. "She's not finding what she wants." "Get in line." "I'm not scheduled for tithe today," Jake protested. "Do you want this facility shut down?" Peter's fear made him cruel. "Get in line or you're fired. Then you can explain to the Sangari why you refused." Jake had no choice. If he refused, it would draw attention. The resistance could not afford that. He stepped into the line of donors, his heart pounding against his ribs. One by one, the people ahead of him were tasted and dismissed. Then it was his turn. The guards brought him forward. Up close, Princess Valora was even more intimidating. She stood a few inches taller than him. Her crimson eyes studied his face with an intensity that made his skin crawl. "Your name?" she asked. "Jake Morrison. You work here?" "Yes, Princess." "Medical technician." "Interesting." She took his wrist. Her fingers were ice cold. "You may feel a moment of disorientation. Do not resist." Before Jake could respond, she bit down on his wrist. Pain flared sharp and bright. Then something strange happened. The world seemed to tilt sideways. Jake felt his memories flood outward. He saw Lisa's face, laughing at a joke he had told when they were children. He felt the grief of losing her, raw and fresh. As the day it happened, he remembered joining the resistance, swearing he would fight back against the Sangari. He remembered every small act of sabotage, every risk he had taken, but something else flowed in the opposite direction. He felt Valora's emotions crash into him like a wave. Loneliness. Deep, aching loneliness that had lasted for years, the weight of expectations she could never meet, the emptiness of a life without real feeling. The connection broke. Valora staggered backward. Her eyes were wide with shock. Her guards rushed to steady her, but she pushed them away. She stared at Jake like she had seen a ghost. "Your blood," she whispered. Her voice had lost its cold edge. Now it trembled with something that might have been awe or fear. "I felt everything. Your pain, your love, your courage. How is this possible?" "No." Jake's wrist throbbed where she had bitten him. He felt dizzy and confused. "I don't understand." "Sangari royalty bond through blood," Valora said. She seemed to be speaking more to herself than to him. "We see memories. We feel emotions. But never like this. Never so intense. Never so real." The guards exchanged nervous glances. One of them, a tall male with silver markings on his uniform, stepped forward. "Princess, perhaps we should continue the selection elsewhere," he suggested carefully. "No." Valora's voice became firm again. She straightened her posture and lifted her chin. The moment of vulnerability vanished behind royal composure. "I have made my choice." "Princess?" the guard asked. Valora raised her hand, palm forward. It was a formal gesture. Jake had seen it in broadcasts. It was how Sangari declared important decisions. "By the ancient laws of our people, by the blood bond that flows between us, I claim this human as my chosen king," Valora announced. Her voice carried through the silent facility. "Jake Morrison, you are bound to me. From this moment until death, you are my consort and future ruler of the Sangari Empire." The room erupted in chaos. The guards began shouting in their language. Peter nearly fainted. The human donors backed away in fear and confusion. Jake felt like the floor had disappeared beneath his feet. This could not be happening. A chosen king? Him? He was a resistance fighter. He had spent years fighting against the Sangari. He had sabotaged their blood supply. And now their princess claimed him as her future husband? "No," Jake said. The word came out strangled. "I refuse. I'm not your anything." Valora's expression hardened. "Refusal is not permitted. The bond has formed. I felt your heart, Jake Morrison. You cannot break what has already been made." "I don't care about your bonds or your laws," Jake shot back. Anger burned through his shock. "I'm human. I'm not some prize for you to claim." The tall guard drew a weapon. It glowed with blue energy. "You will show respect to the princess." "Let him speak," Valora ordered. She studied Jake with those crimson eyes. "You hate us." "Yes," Jake said honestly. "You took my sister. You enslaved my world. Why would I ever serve you?" "Two, because if you refuse, we both die." Valora replied calmly. Sangari law is absolute. A royal who claims a consort must complete the bond within 7 days. If the consort refuses, both are executed. No exceptions. Jake's blood ran cold. That's insane. That is tradition. Valora stepped closer to him. I did not expect this. I did not choose to bond with a human who hates me. But the connection formed, whether we wished it or not. Your blood showed me depths of emotion I have never known. By our law, that makes you my perfect match. I won't do it, Jake said. But even as he spoke, doubt crept into his mind. Would they really kill both of them? And if they did, what would happen to his resistance cell, to the people depending on him? Then we will both face execution in 7 days, Valora said. Think carefully, Jake Morrison. I will give you until tomorrow to decide. But know this. The bond between us is real. I felt your love for your sister. I felt your pain, and whether you believe it or not, you felt mine as well. She turned away, her black dress swirling around her. The guards surrounded her protectively. As they moved toward the exit, Valora glanced back once. I will return tomorrow for your answer, she said. Choose wisely. Both our lives depend on it. Then she was gone. Jake stood in the empty facility, his wrists still bleeding slowly. Peter stared at him with horror. The other humans whispered among themselves. Jake touched the bite mark on his wrist. He could still feel the echo of Valora's emotions. Her loneliness. Her desperate search for something real. In a life built on emptiness, he had 7 days to decide. 7 days to choose between betraying everything he believed in or dying alongside the alien princess who had claimed him as her king. Either way, his life as he knew it was over. Jake sat in his small apartment and stared at the bite mark on his wrist. The wound had stopped bleeding hours ago, but the memory of what happened burned in his mind. Princess Valora's shock, her declaration, the impossible choice she had forced upon him. A knock on the door made him jump. He grabbed the pistol, hidden under his couch. The resistance had taught him to always be ready. Jake, it's me. Danny Cole's voice came through the door. Let me in. Jake opened the door quickly. Danny rushed inside, his face tight with worry. Danny had been Jake's best friend since childhood. They had joined the resistance together after Lisa died. He was one of the few people Jake trusted completely. Is it true? Danny asked. The whole facility is talking about it. The princess claimed you? It's true. Jake sat down heavily. She tasted my blood and declared me her chosen king. I have 7 days to accept or we both get executed. Danny's eyes widened. That's crazy. You can't actually be considering this. If I refuse, I die, Jake said. And apparently, so does she. So let her die, Danny said harshly. She's Sangari. The enemy. Why should you care? Jake wanted to agree. He wanted to feel nothing but hatred. But the blood bond had shown him something he could not ignore. Valora's loneliness. Her desperate search for meaning in a life that felt empty. For just a moment, he had felt her pain as clearly as his own. I don't know what to do, Jake admitted. The resistance needs me here. But if I die, that doesn't help anyone either. We could extract you, Danny suggested. Get you off-world. Hide you somewhere the Sangari can't find you. Before Jake could respond, his apartment filled with blinding white light. He raised his arm to shield his eyes. When the light faded, 6 Sangari guards stood in his living room. They had teleported directly inside. Danny grabbed for his weapon, but a guard moved faster than human eyes could follow. The gun flew from Danny's hand and clattered against the wall. Jake Morrison, the lead guard said. Princess Valora requests your presence on the palace ship. You will come with us. And if I refuse? Jake asked, though he already knew the answer. Then we will take you by force. The princess was clear. You are to be treated with respect, but you will come. Jake looked at Danny, His friend's face was full of anger and fear. This was it. Once Jake left this apartment, everything would change. "Don't go," Danny said quietly. "Please." "I don't have a choice," Jake replied. "Not yet." The guards surrounded him. One touched a device on his wrist. The apartment vanished in another flash of white light. When Jake's vision cleared, he stood in a massive chamber. The walls curved upward into a dome of glass that showed the stars. Earth hung below them, blue and beautiful and conquered. They were on the palace ship. "This way," the guard said. They led him through corridors of polished black stone. Everything was elegant and cold. They passed other Sangari, who stared at Jake with expressions ranging from curiosity to disgust. A human in the palace ship, a human claimed by their princess. It was unthinkable. Finally, they reached a set of large doors. The guards opened them and pushed Jake inside. The room beyond was enormous. Shelves lined the walls, filled with books and strange objects from dozens of worlds. A massive window showed the curve of Earth below. And standing by that window, still wearing her black dress, was Princess Valora. "Leave us," she ordered the guards. They hesitated. "Princess, protocol requires," I said. "Leave us." Her voice became sharp as a blade. "He is my chosen consort. I am in no danger from him." The guards bowed and left. The doors closed with a heavy sound. Valora turned to face Jake. In the starlight, her pale skin seemed to glow. Her crimson eyes studied him carefully. "You're probably wondering why I brought you here," she said. "I'm wondering why you claimed me at all," Jake replied. "There were dozens of other humans at that facility. Why me? Because your blood showed me something I have never felt before." Valora moved closer. Real emotion. Deep. Powerful. Honest feeling. "Do you know what it's like to live for 200 years and feel almost nothing?" Jake blinked. 200 years? "I was born before your great-great-grandparents," Valora said. "Sangari live for millennia if we feed regularly, but somewhere along the way, we lost something. We bred ourselves for control, for power. We removed messy emotions from our bloodlines. Now, we feel only shadows of what we once were." She gestured to the window. "My people conquered 47 worlds. We have technology beyond your imagination. We can travel between stars and shape planets to our will. But we cannot feel joy. We cannot feel real sorrow. We exist in an eternal twilight of muted sensation." "Then why feed on other species?" Jake asked. "If you've lost your emotions, why take our blood?" "Because feeding on sentient blood gives us echoes of what we lost," Valora explained. "When I taste blood from a thinking being, I feel their emotions for a brief moment. It's like being blind and seeing light for the first time. But it always fades. We chase that feeling again and again, building an empire on the suffering of others to feel alive for just a few seconds." Jake felt a strange mixture of anger and pity. "That doesn't make it right." "I know." Valora's voice became quiet. "I have known for a long time that our empire is built on cruelty. But I am one voice among thousands. What could I do?" "You're a princess," Jake said. "You could do a lot, not without proof that another way exists." Valora turned back to the window. "When I tasted your blood, Jake Morrison, I felt everything. Your love for your sister, your grief at losing her, your courage in fighting a war you cannot win, your hope that somehow things might get better. I felt it all as if it were my own." She touched the glass. "In that moment, I understood what my people have lost. Real connection, real purpose, real love. And I knew I could not let it go. Our laws say that a blood bond this powerful means perfect compatibility. It means you were meant to be my king." "I don't want to be your king," Jake said bluntly. "I want my world to be free. Then help me free it." Valora faced him again. "My mother, Empress Serana, knows the empire is failing. We cannot sustain ourselves forever on conquest. Eventually, we will run out of worlds to dominate. When I told her about you, About the bond we formed. She was intrigued. Intrigued enough to stop enslaving humanity? Intrigued enough to offer a test. Valora moved to a desk and pulled out a datapad. She wants to see if cooperation with humans could work better than domination. If you agree to the bonding, she will allow us to govern Earth together for 6 months. If we can improve conditions for both humans and Sangari, she will consider broader reforms. Jake's mind raced. This could be a trick. Or it could be a real chance to help his people. And if I refuse the bond? I don't. We both die in 6 days, Valora said simply. The law is absolute. Why do you care? Jake asked. You could just kill me and claim someone else. Because I felt your heart, Valora said. Her crimson eyes met his. And somewhere in my empty existence, I felt hope for the first time. I will not let that go. Even if it means my death. Before Jake could respond, the doors burst open. A tall Sangari male strode in, flanked by guards in different uniforms. He had sharp features and eyes that burned with cold anger. Princess Valora, the man said. His voice dripped with contempt. I see you have brought your pet human to the palace. Duke Corvin Thrain. Valora's entire posture changed. She became rigid and formal. You were not invited to my chambers. I am a member of the High Council, Duke Corvin replied. I have every right to investigate this scandal. You claimed a human as your consort, a lower species, an animal that should be grateful we allow them to live at all. Jake Morrison is no animal, Valora said coldly. He is my chosen king. Duke Corvin laughed. It was a cruel sound. Your mother may be willing to entertain this fantasy, but the High Council will not. We will petition to have this bond annulled. You will choose a proper consort from a worthy species, or you will face consequences. The blood bond cannot be annulled, Valora said. You know this. Then perhaps you will both face execution, Duke Corvin suggested. After all, if the human refuses the bond, you die together. How convenient that would be for those of us who believe in Sangari purity. Jake stepped forward. Is that a threat? Duke Corvin's eyes focused on Jake with such hatred it was almost physical. You dare speak to me, human? You should be on your knees, grateful that the princess has granted you a few more days of life. I don't kneel to anyone, Jake said. Not to her. Not to you. Not to your empire. The room temperature seemed to drop. Duke Corvin's hand moved to a weapon at his belt. Perhaps we should settle this matter now. Enough. Valora moved between them. Duke Corvin, leave my chambers immediately. This is a royal order. For a moment, Jake thought the Duke would refuse. Then he smiled, cold and dangerous. As you wish, princess. But know this. The High Council meets in 3 days. We will discuss your inappropriate choice. I suggest you prepare a very convincing argument. He turned and left, his guards following. When they were gone, Valora sagged slightly. That was Duke Corvin Thrain. He leads the conservative faction on the High Council. They believe Sangari should rule alone, with all other species serving as food or slaves. He's going to try to kill me, Jake said. Yes, Valora agreed. And possibly me as well. He has wanted more power for years. If I die, my younger brother would become heir. Corvin could control him easily. Jake rubbed his face. This keeps getting better. I need your answer, Jake Morrison. Valora stepped closer to him. Will you accept the bond? Will you stand with me and try to change this empire from within? Or will you choose death and let everything continue as it has? Jake thought of Lisa. He thought of Danny and the resistance. He thought of all the humans suffering under Sangari rule. If he died here, nothing would change. But if he lived, if he played this game, maybe he could make a real difference. If I do this, Jake said slowly, I want real changes, not just promises. I want the blood tithes reduced. I want humans treated with basic dignity. And I want a voice in how Earth is governed. Agreed, Valora said immediately. And I want to contact my resistance cell, Jake added. Let them know I'm not a traitor, that I'm doing this to help. Valora hesitated, then nodded. One message. Carefully monitored. But yes, Jake took a deep breath. He was about to do something crazy. Something that would change his life forever. But maybe, just maybe, it was the right choice. Fine, he said. I accept the bond. I'll be your chosen king. But I'm doing this for my people, not for you. Valora's expression softened slightly. I would not expect otherwise. The bonding ceremony is tomorrow night. Until then, you will stay here in the palace. I will have chambers prepared for you. One more thing, Jake said. What exactly happens during this bonding ceremony? We exchange blood, Valora explained. I drink from you, and you drink from me. It creates a permanent psychic link between us. We will feel each other's emotions, sense each other's pain. It cannot be broken, except by death. Jake's stomach turned. You're telling me I'll be mentally connected to you forever? Yes, Valora said. It is the ultimate bond between Sangari. And once it is complete, not even Duke Corvin can separate us. She moved to the door. Rest tonight, Jake Morrison. Tomorrow, your old life ends, and whatever comes next begins. As the doors closed behind her, Jake stood alone in the massive chamber. Through the window, Earth turned slowly in the darkness. Somewhere down there, Danny and the Resistance were planning their next move. Somewhere down there, humans still fought for freedom. And now, Jake was here, about to bond himself forever to an alien princess, betting everything on the hope that he could change an empire from the inside. He touched the bite mark on his wrist. Tomorrow night, there would be no turning back. He just hoped he was making the right choice. For his people, for Lisa's memory, for everyone counting on him to somehow make this nightmare better. The stars watched silently as Jake made peace with his decision. In less than 24 hours, he would become something new. Something the galaxy had never seen before. A human king of the Sangari Empire. Whether that would save his people or doom them remained to be seen. The bonding ceremony chamber stood at the heart of the palace ship. Jake followed two silent guards through corridors that grew darker and more ancient with each step. The walls here were not the polished black stone of the rest of the ship. They were carved from something that looked like dark crystal, covered in symbols Jake could not read. The bonding chamber has existed for 5,000 years, one guard explained. His voice echoed in the narrow hallway. Every Sangari royal has completed their bond here. You will be the first human to enter. Gonna ride? Jake's heart pounded. He wore simple black clothes that Valora had provided. His wrist still bore the mark from her first bite. In a few hours, that mark would be joined by something permanent. A psychic link that would tie him to the alien princess forever. The guards stopped at a massive door carved with images of stars and strange creatures. They pressed their hands to the surface. The door swung open silently. Inside, the chamber took Jake's breath away. The ceiling stretched up into darkness. Floating lights drifted through the air like lazy fireflies. In the center of the room stood a circular platform, surrounded by intricate symbols carved into the floor. And waiting on that platform, wearing a dress of deep red, was Princess Valora. She looked different tonight. Less formal, less distant. Her crimson eyes found Jake as he entered, and something that might have been nervousness crossed her face. Leave us, she told the guards. They bowed and departed. The door closed with a sound like thunder. Jake walked slowly toward the platform. His footsteps echoed in the vast space. Is this really necessary? He asked. All of this ceremony? My people take bonds seriously. Valora replied. This ritual has been performed the same way for millennia. It connects us to our ancestors. To the Sangari we were before the Empire. She gestured to the platform. Come, stand here with me. Jake stepped up onto the platform. The symbols on the floor began to glow with soft blue light. He jumped slightly. Don't be afraid, Valora said. The symbols are reacting to our presence. They will monitor the bond to ensure it forms correctly. The And what happens if it doesn't form correctly? Jake asked. Valora did not answer. Instead, she took his hand. Her skin was cold as always, but her grip was gentle. I know you're doing this for your people, she said quietly. Not for me. But I want you to know that I will honor our agreement. Changes will come to Earth. I swear it. Jake met her crimson eyes. Why does this matter so much to you? Because in 200 years of existence, I have never felt what I felt when I tasted your blood, Valora said. Real emotion. Real purpose. Real connection to another being. I cannot go back to emptiness. Not now that I know something else exists. She raised her other hand. In it, she held a small ceremonial blade that glowed with inner light. The ceremony requires us to speak vows. I will go first. Then you will repeat them. After that, we exchange blood and the bond will form. Jake nodded, his throat dry. Valora spoke in her own language first. The words were musical and strange. Then she repeated them in English. I claim you as my equal, my partner, my other self. Your pain becomes my pain. Your joy becomes my joy. Your life becomes bound to mine, until death parts us. Do you accept this bond? I accept, Jake said. The words felt heavy. Now you speak the same vow to me, Valora instructed. Jake took a deep breath. I claim you as my equal, my partner, my other self. Your pain becomes my pain. Your joy becomes my joy. Your life becomes bound to mine, until death parts us. Do you accept this bond? I accept, Valora whispered. The symbols on the floor blazed brighter. The floating lights gathered around them like curious spirits. Valora raised the ceremonial blade. I must cut my wrist. You will drink from me first. Then, I will drink from you. Are you ready? As ready as I'll ever be, Jake said. Valora drew the blade across her wrist. Dark red blood welled up, almost black in the strange light. She held her wrist toward Jake. Drink. The bond requires you to take my blood willingly. Jake hesitated. Everything in him screamed that this was wrong. But he had made his choice. For his people. For the chance to change things. He took her wrist and pressed his lips to the wound. The blood tasted like metal and starlight. The moment it touched his tongue, the world exploded. Jake felt Valora's mind crash into his like a wave. Her memories, her emotions, her entire existence flooded through him. He saw her childhood in the palace, surrounded by cold ritual and colder parents. He felt her desperate attempt to feel something, anything. As century after century passed in muted gray, he experienced her shock and joy when his blood showed her real emotion for the first time. But he also felt her fear, her doubt, her worry that she was making a terrible mistake. Then the connection deepened. Jake gasped as his own memories flowed outward. He could not stop it. Valora saw everything. His happy childhood with Lisa. The day the Sangari came, his sister's death. His rage and grief. His decision to join the resistance. Every moment of his life laid bare. Valora pulled her wrist back. She was breathing hard, her crimson eyes wide. Your sister, she whispered. Lisa. She was so young. Don't, Jake said roughly. Don't talk about her. I felt what you felt when she died, Valora continued. Her voice shook. The guard who took her. His name was Commander Vex. He's stationed on one of our colonies now. Jake's hands clenched into fists. Why are you telling me this? Because I felt your pain, Valora said, and I am sorry. I am truly, deeply sorry for what my people did to your sister. Before Jake could respond, she took his wrist. Now you must drink from me again. A full bond requires 3 exchanges. She bit down on his wrist. The pain was sharp but brief. Then she drank, and the connection intensified. Jake could feel what Valora was feeling. Shame for her empire's actions, hope that this bond might change things, and beneath it all, a growing affection for him that terrified her. When she released his wrist, Jake felt dizzy. "One more?" he asked. "One more," Valora confirmed. They repeated the exchange a third time. With each cycle, the bond grew stronger. By the time they finished, Jake could feel Valora's presence in the back of his mind like a second heartbeat. Her emotions flowed through him. Her thoughts brushed against his. The symbols on the floor flared bright white, then faded. The floating lights drifted away. The ceremony was complete. "It's done," Valora said softly. She swayed slightly, and Jake caught her elbow. "Are you okay?" he asked. "The bond is stronger than I expected," Valora admitted. "I can feel you. Your thoughts. Your emotions. Can you feel me?" Jake concentrated. Yes. There it was. A presence in his mind that was definitely not him. He could sense her exhaustion. Her relief that the ceremony had worked. Her lingering shame about Lisa. "I feel you," he confirmed. Valora smiled. It was the first real smile Jake had seen from her. "Then, we are truly bound. You are my king, Jake Morrison. And I am your—" She stopped. Her eyes went wide. Her hand flew to her throat. "Valora?" Jake grabbed her as she stumbled. "What's wrong?" "Poison," she gasped. "Someone poisoned me." Jake's blood went cold. "When? How?" "The ceremonial wine," Valora choked out. "I drank it before you arrived. It's designed to activate slowly, to make it look like the bonding ceremony killed me." She collapsed. Jake caught her and lowered her to the platform. Through the bond, he could feel her pain. It burned through his mind like acid. The poison was attacking her nervous system. "I need to get you help," Jake said. He moved toward the door. "No." Valora grabbed his arm with surprising strength. "The poison makes Sangari lose control. If it progresses, I will enter blood frenzy. I will kill anything near me. You need to run." "Valora, I'm not leaving you," Jake said firmly. "You don't understand." Valora's eyes were beginning to glow brighter. "The poison removes all inhibition, all control. I will feed until nothing is left. I will drain you dry and not even know I'm doing it." Through the bond, Jake felt the poison spreading. He felt Valora's desperate fight to maintain control. And he felt something else. The poison was designed specifically for Sangari biology. It worked by triggering their feeding instinct beyond all reason. "There has to be a cure," Jake said. "There is," Valora said. Her voice was becoming strained. "But it's in the medical wing. 3 levels away. You'll never make it in time." Jake's mind raced. The bond. They were connected now. Could he use that? He thought about the blood they had exchanged. Valora had taken his blood. Human blood. It had affected her before, made her feel real emotions. Maybe it could help now. "Drink from me," Jake said. "What?" Valora's eyes were fully glowing now. Her control was slipping. "The poison is designed for Sangari biology," Jake explained quickly. "My blood showed you human emotions. It's different from anything you've fed on before. Maybe it can dilute the poison. Maybe my blood can help you fight it. Or maybe you're just offering yourself as a meal," Valora said bitterly. "The poison is taking hold. I can feel it. In another minute, I won't be able to stop myself anyway." "Then we don't have time to argue," Jake said. He pressed his wrist to her lips. "Drink. Fight the poison. I know you're strong enough." Valora's eyes met his. Through the bond, he felt her terror. She did not want to hurt him. But the poison was winning. Her control was nearly gone. "Trust me," Jake whispered. "We're bonded now. Use that. Use the connection between us to stay yourself." Valora's fangs extended. She bit down on Jake's wrist for the 4th time that night. But this time was different. This time, she drank deeply. Desperately. The poison drove her to feed harder than she ever had before. Jake felt his blood flowing out. He felt weakness creeping through his limbs. But he also felt something else. Through the bond, he felt Valora fighting. She was using his blood, using the emotions and humanity in it, to push back against the poison. Come on, he thought. You can do this. Fight it. Through their connection, Jake poured every bit of strength he had into her. He thought about Lisa, about his love for his sister, about his hope for Earth, about his determination to survive. He forced all of it through the bond, giving Valora something to hold on to. Valora's grip on his wrist began to loosen. She was shaking, but slowly, the wild glow in her eyes started to fade. Finally, she released him. She fell back on the platform, gasping for breath. Her face was pale even by Sangari standards, but her eyes were clear, focused. Human, you saved me, she whispered. The poison is still in my system, but your blood diluted it. I can control it now. Jake collapsed beside her. He felt lightheaded from blood loss. Good. Because I think I might pass out now. Valora pressed her hand to his wrist. The wound stopped bleeding. Rest. I will get help. But Jake, you need to know something. The poison was meant for me. Someone on this ship wants me dead. Duke Corvin, Jake said. It has to be. Yes, Valora agreed. But I cannot prove it. Not yet. We need to be very careful. If he's willing to poison me during the bonding ceremony, he will try again. Through the bond, Jake felt her determination, her anger, and underneath it all, her gratitude toward him. He had saved her life. A human had saved the Sangari princess. We're in this together now, Jake said. Partners, remember? Your pain is my pain. Valora looked at him with an expression he could not quite read. You are very strange for a human. You should hate me. Everything I represent. I do hate what you represent. Jake said honestly. But through this bond, I feel who you really are. And I think maybe you hate the Empire as much as I do. A small smile crossed Valora's face. Perhaps you're right. The door burst open. Guards rushed in, summoned by some alarm. They stopped when they saw the princess and the human lying on the platform, both covered in blood. Get the royal physician, Valora ordered. Her voice was weak but commanding. And find Duke Corvin. I want him questioned about the ceremonial wine. As the guards scrambled to obey, Jake felt consciousness slipping away. The blood loss was catching up to him. But through the bond, he felt Valora's steady presence. She would protect him now, just as he had protected her. As darkness claimed him, Jake's last thought was that he had made the right choice. He had bonded with an alien princess. He had saved her life. And now, together, they had a chance to change everything. The bond was complete. The poison had failed. And somewhere on this ship, Duke Corvin was about to learn that killing the princess and her human king would be much harder than he thought. Jake woke in a bed softer than anything he had ever felt. For a moment, he forgot where he was. Then the memories rushed back. The bonding ceremony. The poison. Valora drinking from him to survive. He sat up quickly. Too quickly. His head spun, and he had to steady himself against the mattress. Through the bond, he felt a flicker of concern that was not his own. Easy. Valora's voice came from across the room. You lost a lot of blood. The physician said you need rest. Jake looked over. Valora sat in a chair by the window, watching Earth turn slowly below. She looked tired, but alive. The poison had not killed her. How long was I out? Jake asked. 18 hours, Valora replied. Long enough for several interesting developments. She stood and moved to sit on the edge of his bed. Through the bond, Jake could feel her carefully controlled anger. Duke Corvin has disappeared. He left the palace ship hours before we discovered the poison. Very convenient timing. He's the one who did it, Jake said. Almost certainly, Valora agreed. But without proof, I cannot move against him. He has too many allies on the High Council. If I accuse him without evidence, It will look like I'm trying to eliminate political rivals. Jake rubbed his face. So what do we do? We proceed with the plan, Valora said firmly. My mother has agreed to let us govern Earth together for 6 months. We leave for the surface tomorrow. If we can prove that cooperation works better than domination, it will give me the political power I need to challenge Corvin and his faction. Through the bond, Jake felt her determination. But he also felt her fear. She knew this was dangerous. Corvin would not give up easily. There's something else, Valora continued. While you were unconscious, I spoke with my mother. I told her about the poison, about how your blood helped me fight it. She finds it very interesting that human blood has such powerful effects on Sangari biology. Interesting how? Jake asked warily. She wants to study it, Valora said. Not just your blood specifically. Human blood, in general. She thinks there might be something in human neurochemistry that affects us so strongly. Jake's mind raced. If you could understand what makes human blood special, you could synthesize it. You wouldn't need to feed on actual people. Valora's eyes widened slightly. That's exactly what my mother suggested. But our scientists have never been able to create synthetic blood that satisfies Sangari needs. We've tried for centuries. And maybe you've been trying the wrong way, Jake said. Your people approach it as a Sangari problem. But it's really a human problem. Let humans solve it. You think human scientists could succeed where ours failed? Valora sounded skeptical. I think humans are very good at solving impossible problems, Jake said. Especially when their freedom depends on it. Through the bond, he felt Valora's surprise. Then her consideration. Then her growing excitement. We could make this part of the Earth Governance Project, she said. Assemble a team of human scientists. Give them resources. See what they can discover. If they create a working synthetic, it changes everything, Jake said. The entire justification for the Empire disappears. You don't need to conquer worlds if you can make your own supply. Valora stood and paced the room. Duke Corvin and his faction will fight this. They don't want change. They profit from the current system. Then we need to move fast, Jake said. He pushed himself out of bed. His legs were shaky but held. How soon can we get to Earth? Tomorrow morning, Valora replied. She moved to steady him. Through physical contact, the bond strengthened. Jake could feel her emotions more clearly. Her hope, her fear, her growing respect for him. I'm sorry, she said quietly, for bringing you into this, for bonding you to me when you had no real choice, for putting you in danger. I had a choice, Jake said. I could have refused and died. I chose to live and fight. That's on me. Their eyes met. For a moment, the bond between them pulsed with something neither could quite name. Then Valora stepped back. Get dressed, she said, her voice becoming formal again. We need to meet with the human representatives I've selected. They will help us govern Earth during the trial period. An hour later, Jake sat in a conference room he had never expected to see. A table made of smooth white stone stretched before him. Holographic displays showed data from Earth, and sitting across from him were 5 humans he recognized. Danny Cole sat at the far end, his face a mask of barely controlled anger. Beside him was Dr. Amy Chen, a biochemist Jake knew from the Resistance Network. Next to her sat Kevin Park, a young programmer who specialized in Sangari systems. The other 2 were strangers, but they had the tired, determined look of people who had survived years under occupation. Jake, Danny said, his voice was cold. They said you're the princess's consort now, her chosen king. Care to explain? It's complicated, Jake began. It's betrayal, Danny interrupted. You bonded with the enemy. You're wearing their clothes. Sitting in their ship. What happened to fighting for freedom? I am fighting for freedom, Jake said. He kept his voice calm. This is just a different battlefield. We can't win against the Sangari with guns and bombs, but maybe we can win with politics and science. Dr. Amy Chen leaned forward. She was a small woman with sharp eyes. What exactly is your plan? Valora entered the room before Jake could answer. All the humans stood automatically, then looked ashamed of themselves for showing respect to their enemy. Please sit, Valora said. She moved to stand beside Jake. I know you have no reason to trust me. I am Sangari. My people have enslaved yours, but I want to propose something different. She activated a holographic display. Images of Earth appeared, showing collection facilities and occupation zones. For the next 6 months, Jake and I will govern Earth together, Valora explained. This is a test approved by Empress Serana herself. If we can improve conditions for humans while maintaining the blood supply the Empire needs, broader reforms may follow. And if we fail? Kevin Park asked. He was young, maybe 25, with nervous hands. Then nothing changes, Valora said honestly. Earth remains as it is. The Empire continues. But I believe we can succeed. With your help. What kind of help? Dr. Amy Chen asked. Jake stood. We want to create a synthetic blood alternative. Something that gives the Sangari what they need, without requiring actual human blood. Dr. Chen, your research into neurochemicals makes you perfect for this. Kevin, we need someone who understands both human and Sangari technology. The rest of you have skills we need to rebuild Earth's infrastructure. Danny slammed his hand on the table. This is insane. You want us to help the Sangari become independent of human blood? That's our only leverage. No, Jake said firmly. Our leverage is that we can do what they can't. We can innovate. We can solve problems they've given up on. If we create a working synthetic, we prove that humans are valuable as partners, not just as food. And you trust her? Danny gestured at Valora. I'm bonded to her, Jake said. I can feel her emotions, her intentions. She genuinely wants to change things. Bonded how? Dr. Amy Chen asked, her scientific curiosity overcoming her caution. Jake pulled up his sleeve, showing the bonding marks on his wrist. We share a psychic connection. I feel what she feels. She feels what I feel. It's permanent. The room went silent. That's actually fascinating, Dr. Amy Chen murmured. A psychic link created through blood exchange. The neurological implications alone. Focus, Danny said sharply. Jake, can she control you through this bond? No, Valora answered. The bond creates empathy, not control. I cannot force Jake to do anything. I can only feel his emotions and share mine, which means she knows if I'm lying, Jake added. And I know if she is. It works both ways. Kevin Park spoke up. What about the resistance? What about everyone fighting against the Sangari? Do we just tell them to give up? Why? No, Jake said. We tell them there's a chance for real change, not in decades or centuries, but in months. If this works, if we can prove cooperation is better than conquest, the entire empire might shift. And if Duke Corvin kills you both first? Danny asked. We heard about the poison. The princess's political enemies won't sit idle while you try to reform the empire. Then we need to work fast, Valora said. She touched the holographic display. New images appeared. Laboratories, residential zones. I am reducing blood tithes by 30% immediately. Medical care will be provided to all humans in exchange for voluntary donations. Those who work on the synthesis project will receive full Sangari citizenship and protection. Dr. Amy Chen sat up straighter. Full citizenship? That's never been offered to humans before. Nothing about this has been done before, Valora said. That's exactly why it might work. Jake watched his old friend Danny. He could see the war happening behind Danny's eyes. The desire to believe, fighting against the fundamental knowledge that trusting the Sangari had only led to pain. I need proof, Danny finally said. Not words. Proof that things are really changing. Come with us to Earth. Jake offered. See it for yourself. If after 1 month you think this is all a lie, you can leave. I won't stop you. Danny stared at Jake for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. 1 month. But I'm watching you. Both of you. The meeting continued for hours. They discussed logistics, resources, and timelines. Dr. Amy Chen and Kevin Park grew increasingly excited about the synthesis project. The other humans began to see possibilities they had not imagined before. When the meeting finally ended, Jake found himself alone with Valora again. "Do you think they'll really help?" Valora asked. Through the bond, he felt her uncertainty. "They will," Jake said. "Because deep down, every human wants to believe things can get better. Even Danny. Especially Danny." Valora moved to the window. "I received a message from Duke Corvin. He says the High Council will challenge our governance of Earth. He's gathering votes to override my mother's decision." "Can he do that?" Jake asked. "If he gets enough support, yes," Valora said. "The Empress is powerful. But the High Council can limit her authority on certain matters. We need results quickly. Something dramatic that proves this approach works." Through the bond, Jake felt her stress. He crossed the room and put his hand on her shoulder. The physical contact strengthened their connection. "We'll make it work," he said. "We have to." Valora turned to face him. "You saved my life. With the poison. You could have run. You could have let me die. Instead, you offered your own blood to save me. We're bonded," Jake said simply. "Partners. Your pain is my pain, remember? I never expected to feel this." Valora said softly. "Connection. Trust. Friendship. With a human. With anyone. Really, that's the human blood talking," Jake said with a small smile. "Making you feel things." "Perhaps," Valora agreed. "Or perhaps I needed someone like you to show me what I was missing." The moment stretched between them. Then Valora stepped back. Becoming formal again. "We leave for Earth at dawn," she said. "Rest tonight. Tomorrow, we begin the hardest fight of our lives." As Jake returned to his chambers, he felt the weight of what lay ahead. Governing Earth with an alien princess. Creating impossible science. Fighting political enemies who wanted them both dead. Trying to change an empire that had existed for thousands of years. Through the bond, he felt Valora's matching determination. They were in this together now. A human and a Sangari. A resistance fighter and a princess. Unlikely allies trying to reshape the galaxy. Jake touched the bonding marks on his wrist. Tomorrow, everything would change. Tomorrow, they would return to Earth not as conqueror and conquered, but as partners trying to build something new. He only hoped they would survive long enough to see if it worked. 3 months had passed since Jake and Valora returned to Earth as co-governors. 3 months of the hardest work Jake had ever done. But as he stood in the rebuilt laboratory and watched Dr. Amy Chen prepare the final test, he allowed himself a moment of hope. The laboratory occupied an entire floor of what had been a Sangari military building. Now it housed the most advanced scientific equipment from both human and Sangari technology. Dr. Amy Chen led a team of 40 researchers, both human and Sangari, working together for the first time in history. "We're ready," Dr. Amy Chen announced. She held up a vial of clear liquid that seemed to shimmer in the light. "This is it. The final formula." Kevin Park checked the readings on his display. All the neurochemical markers match. The emotional resonance compounds are stable. If this doesn't work, nothing will. Jake felt Valora arrive before he saw her. The bond had grown stronger over the past months. He could sense her presence anywhere within a mile now. She entered the laboratory with her usual grace, though he could feel her nervousness through their connection. "Is it done?" Valora asked. "One way to find out," Dr. Amy Chen said. She looked at Valora with an expression that was half scientific curiosity and half old fear. "You're sure you want to test it yourself? We could use a volunteer." "No," Valora said firmly. "If this fails, it should be my risk, not someone else's." Over the past 3 months, Jake had watched Valora change. She still carried herself like royalty, but the cold distance had melted away. She walked among humans now, talked with them, learned from them. The bond between them had shown her depths of emotion she had never imagined, and she had embraced it instead of fighting it. Dr. Amy Chen poured the synthetic blood into a crystal glass. It looked like wine. She handed it to Valora with steady hands. "For the record," Dr. Amy Chen said, "I think this is going to work. We've identified the exact compounds in human blood that affect Sangari neurochemistry. The synthesis replicates them perfectly." Valora raised the glass. "To human ingenuity, and to the end of an empire built on suffering." She drank. Jake watched through the bond, and through his eyes. He felt the moment the synthetic hit Valora's system. It was like watching sunrise. Her emotions suddenly intensified, blooming with color and depth, joy, wonder, amazement, all flowing through their connection with stunning clarity. Valora's eyes widened. "It works," she whispered. "It actually works. I feel everything. Just like when I drink from Jake. But there's no pain. No cost. Just pure sensation." Dr. Amy Chen made rapid notes. Kevin Park checked his displays. The other scientists crowded around, human and Sangari alike. Witnessing history. "How long does it last?" Jake asked. "Unknown," Dr. Amy Chen admitted. "We'll need to monitor the princess over the next several days. But the initial response is better than we hoped." The laboratory doors burst open. Danny Cole rushed in, his face urgent. "We have a problem. Duke Corvin just landed on Earth with 30 ships. He's demanding an emergency session of the High Council to vote on ending your governance." Jake's stomach dropped. Through the bond, he felt Valora's flash of anger. "He can't do that," Valora said. "We still have 3 months left in the trial period." "He's claiming you violated Sangari law by giving humans citizenship," Danny explained. "He says you're committing treason against the Empire. Half the High Council is with him." Jake looked at the vial of synthetic blood. "We need to show them this. Prove that we've solved the problem." "It's not enough," Valora said. She was thinking fast. Jake could feel her mind racing through their bond. One successful test won't convince the Council. They'll demand years of trials. Decades of proof. Corvin knows this. He's timing his attack perfectly. "Then what do we do?" Jake asked. Valora's crimson eyes met his. "We call his bluff. The High Council can only override my mother's decision with a unanimous vote. If even one council member supports us, Corvin fails. We need to convince just one." "How?" Danny demanded. "They're Sangari nobles. They don't care about human rights or synthetic blood. They care about power." "Then we show them power," Jake said. An idea was forming. A dangerous idea. But through the bond, he felt Valora understand it immediately. "The bond," Valora said. "We show them what a human Sangari bond can do." Dr. Amy Chen looked confused. "I don't understand." "The bond between me and Valora is unique," Jake explained. "We share emotions, thoughts, strengths. If we can demonstrate that a bonded pair is more capable than either individual alone, it proves that cooperation makes the Empire stronger, not weaker." "You want to challenge Duke Corvin directly," Danny said, "in front of the High Council?" "Yes," Valora said. "Sangari law allows trial by combat to settle certain disputes. If I challenge Corvin and win, his challenge fails. The trial period continues. And if you lose?" Kevin Park asked quietly. "Then we both die," Jake said, "and the Empire never changes." The High Council chamber had been erected on Earth specifically for this emergency session. It stood in what used to be the center of New York City, a massive structure of dark stone that dwarfed the ruined buildings around it. Jake walked beside Valora toward the entrance. Behind them came their small group of supporters. Dr. Amy Chen, Kevin Park, Danny, and a dozen other humans who had chosen to stand with them. Ahead, Duke Corvin's faction waited with smug confidence. The chamber interior was vast and cold. Council members sat in a circle of elevated seats surrounding a central floor. Empress Serana sat highest among them, her expression unreadable. Duke Corvin stood in the center, wearing armor that gleamed with power. "Princess Valora," Duke Corvin said. His voice echoed through the chamber. "You have been summoned to answer charges of treason. You have given humans citizenship. You have wasted resources on foolish experiments. You have weakened the Empire for your pet project." "I have strengthened the Empire," Valora replied. Her voice was clear and strong. "I have found a way to sustain our people without conquest. I have proven that cooperation works." "You have proven nothing," Duke Corvin sneered. "Humans are inferior. They exist to serve. Your bond with this creature has clouded your judgment." Through their connection, Jake felt Valora's anger spike, but she kept her voice calm. "Then let us prove it," Valora said. "I invoke my right to trial by combat. If I win, your challenge fails and our governance continues. If you win, you may execute us both and claim control of Earth." The council chamber erupted in whispers. Duke Corvin's eyes gleamed with triumph. "You would fight me? In your weakened state? Bonded to a human? This will be easier than I thought." "Not just me," Valora said. "Both of us. The bond allows us to fight as one. If you claim we are weak, prove it." Duke Corvin laughed. "A human in combat against Sangari? This will be over in seconds." Empress Serana stood. "The challenge is acknowledged. Trial by combat will determine the outcome. Prepare yourselves." Guards cleared the center floor. Weapons were brought forth, traditional Sangari blades that crackled with energy. Duke Corvin selected his weapon with confidence. Valora chose hers carefully. Jake had no weapon. He had no Sangari combat training. But over the past 3 months, he and Valora had discovered something. The bond allowed them to share more than emotions. In moments of intense connection, they could share physical coordination, reflexes, muscle memory. They had practiced in secret, not knowing if they would ever need it. Now everything depended on that practice. Duke Corvin raised his blade. For the purity of the Sangari Empire, he attacked. Corvin moved with blinding speed. His blade swept toward Valora's throat. But through the bond, Jake felt the attack coming. He grabbed Valora's arm and pulled her aside at the exact right moment. The blade passed through empty air. Valora countered. Her strike forced Corvin back. But he was stronger. Faster. 200 years of combat experience against 3 months of practice. Jake felt every move through the bond. He anticipated. He guided. He used his human unpredictability to complement Valora's Sangari precision. When Corvin attacked from the left, Jake sensed it and helped Valora dodge right. When an opening appeared, Valora struck with Jake's tactical insight guiding her. They moved as one. Not human. Not Sangari. Something new. Something the Empire had never seen before. Duke Corvin's confidence began to crack. His attacks became wilder. More desperate. He had expected an easy victory. Instead, he faced an opponent who fought with 2 minds working in perfect harmony. "Impossible," Corvin snarled. He unleashed a devastating combination of strikes. "You're just a human and a princess who plays at reform." But Jake had learned something in 3 months of feeling Valora's emotions. He had learned her strength, her determination, her absolute refusal to give up. And Valora had learned his adaptability, his creative thinking, his human stubbornness. Together, they were stronger than either alone. Valora's blade found an opening. She struck Corvin's weapon arm. He dropped his blade with a cry of pain. Before he could recover, Valora had her blade at his throat. The chamber went silent. "Yield," Valora commanded. Duke Corvin's face twisted with rage and humiliation. "I yield." Valora stepped back. Through the bond, Jake felt her exhaustion, her relief, her triumph. They had won. Empress Serana stood again. "The trial by combat is complete. Duke Corvin's challenge has failed. Princess Valora and her consort will continue to govern Earth for the remainder of the trial period." But she was not finished. The Empress descended from her seat and approached the center floor. She studied Jake with eyes that had seen millennia. "You fought well, human," she said. "Better than I expected. And my daughter, you have shown me something I thought lost to our people. True partnership, true cooperation." She turned to address the full council. "I have observed the Earth Governance Project for 3 months. I have seen the synthesis research. I have watched humans and Sangari work together. And I have concluded that Duke Corvin and his faction are wrong. Humans are not inferior. They are different. And that difference makes them valuable." She held up her hand. In it was a vial of the synthetic blood. Dr. Amy Chen has provided me with samples of her work. I have tested it myself. It functions exactly as promised. For the first time in our history, we have an alternative to conquest. The council chamber erupted in shouting. Some members supported the Empress. Others protested. But Serana's voice cut through the chaos. "The old empire is dying," she declared. "We have known this for centuries. But we were too proud to admit it. Too set in our ways to change. These humans have shown us a path forward. Not through domination, but through cooperation. Not through fear, but through mutual benefit." She looked at Jake and Valora. "I am extending the Earth trial indefinitely. Furthermore, I am establishing the new covenant. Any world in our empire may choose to join as partners rather than subjects. Those who contribute willing blood donations or work on synthesis research will receive full citizenship and representation." Duke Corvin struggled to his feet. "This is madness. You would throw away everything we have built." "We have built nothing," Empress Serana said coldly. "We have only taken. It is time we learned to create again. Time we remembered what it means to be Sangari. Not conquerors, but explorers, artists, builders." She turned to the council. "All in favor of the new covenant?" Jake held his breath. Through the bond, he felt Valora's tension. One by one, council members raised their hands. Not all of them. Duke Corvin's faction remained seated, their faces dark with anger. But enough voted in favor. More than enough. The new covenant passed. Jake felt Valora's joy explode through the bond. It mixed with his own elation until he could not tell where her emotions ended and his began. They had done it. Against all odds, they had changed the empire. 5 years later, Jake stood on a balcony overlooking the rebuilt New York City. The scars of occupation had healed. Buildings rose toward the sky again, built with combined human and Sangari technology. In the streets below, both species walked together, not as masters and slaves, as equals. Valora joined him at the railing. Their daughter, 3 years old and asleep in Valora's arms, had pale skin like her mother but warm brown eyes like her father. She represented the future, a new generation born into a galaxy that was learning to cooperate instead of conquer. Dr. Chen's synthesis labs are opening on 17 more worlds this month, Valora said. Kevin estimates that within 10 years, voluntary donations and synthetic blood will completely replace forced extraction. Danny says the resistance has officially disbanded, Jake added. They're forming a political party instead, running for positions in the new Earth government. He still doesn't trust me, Valora said with amusement. He's getting better, Jake replied. He only threatens to shoot you once a week now, instead of daily. Through the bond, he felt Valora's quiet happiness. It still amazed him sometimes. 5 years ago, she had been a lonely princess searching for meaning in an empty existence. Now she was a leader helping reshape an empire. A mother. His partner in every sense of the word. Do you regret it? Valora asked softly. The bond. Everything that came after. Jake thought about it honestly. He thought about Lisa. About the life he had planned before Valora claimed him. About all the pain and struggle of the past 5 years. No, he said finally. I don't regret it. We changed the galaxy. We gave humans and dozens of other species a real future. That's worth everything we went through. Valora leaned against him. My mother is stepping down next year. The council wants me to become empress. I heard, Jake said. How do you feel about that? Terrified, Valora admitted. An empire of 47 worlds, all watching to see if a bonded pair can really lead. If cooperation can really work long-term. We've handled worse, Jake reminded her. Assassination attempts. Political coups. Duke Corvin's escape and subsequent recapture 3 times. Twice, Valora corrected. The 3rd time was someone else entirely. They stood together as the sun set over Earth. Their daughter stirred in her sleep, making a small sound. Through the bond, Jake felt Valora's love for their child, her love for him, her determination to build a better galaxy for the next generation. Far above, the Sangari fleet orbited in formation with human ships. Not as conquerors, as defenders of a new kind of empire. One built on partnership, on mutual respect, on the simple idea that cooperation was stronger than domination. Jake Morrison had started as a resistance fighter who hated the alien invaders. He had become a king who helped save them from themselves. And he had learned the most important lesson of all. Real strength did not come from superior technology or military might. It came from understanding your enemy well enough to see them as people. From having the courage to try a different path. From being willing to sacrifice everything for a chance at something better. The bond between human and Sangari pulsed with quiet certainty. They had changed the galaxy. Together. And they would keep changing it. One partnership. One breakthrough. One act of cooperation at a time. The Empire had claimed a human as a chosen king. But in the end, humanity had claimed something far more valuable. The future, and the freedom to shape it with their own hands. The stars watched as Jake and Valora stood together on their balcony, their daughter safe between them. Below, a world rebuilt. Above, an empire reformed. And everywhere, the slow transformation from conquest to cooperation continued. The alien vampire princess had claimed a human as her chosen king. And together, they had done the impossible. They had turned an empire of predators into a federation of partners. They had proven that the greatest power in the galaxy was not the ability to take, but the courage to give, the wisdom to cooperate, the strength to change. And as the last light faded from the sky, Jake felt through the bond what Valora felt, what millions across the empire were beginning to feel. Hope. Real, genuine hope for a future worth living, worth fighting for, worth building together. The bonding marks on his wrist had long since healed into pale scars, but the bond itself remained as strong as ever, a permanent connection between 2 people who had started as enemies and become so much more. Partners, parents, leaders of a new kind of empire, and the galaxy watched to see what they would do next.